Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvelcast, Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel. We're going to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Lon Draga and Billy Connors. I'm Ashley Topley, Explosion Network's resident friendly neighborhood podcast host. Joining me today, Ultimate Ciaran Marchant.
You know what? You might even call me Superior Ciaran Marchant with this movie we're talking about today compared to what we've talked about the last 3 weeks.
Ooh, and the astonishing Dylan Blight.
I was trying to think of another word for amazing. I was like, I don't know. Yes, splendid. I don't know.
Spectacular was right there. I was going to say,
it's
fuck.
It's like the most favorite animated series.
I was trying to. My brain farted. Sorry.
Anyways, yes. So today we're talking about the Amazing Spider-Man.
Peter Parker.
You don't believe what the police are saying, do you?
My dad has 500 officers looking for you.
500? That seems a bit excessive. You know, if you're gonna steal cars, don't dress like a car thief. You found my weakness. It's small knives. Who are you?
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Parker. What does your father do, Peter?
I never really knew my father. My parents left when I was very young.
Peter, someday you'll understand.
Did you tell the boy about his father?
Dr. Cutters. I'm Richard Parker's son.
If you want the truth about your parents, Peter, come and get it.
Released in 2012. Directed by Marc Webb, screenplay by James Vanderbilt, Alvin Sargent, and Steve Kloves, story by James Vanderbilt, based on Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, starring Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Rhys, Ifans, Denis Leary, Campbell Scott, Irrfan Khan, Martin Sheen, and Sally Field. Peter Parker, an outcast high school student, gets bitten by a radioactive spider and attains superpowers. He is forced to use his abilities to fight a monstrous foe. Sounds exactly like the first film. Ciaran, as someone who's shared his dislike of the Tobey Maguire trilogy, what do you think of Amazing Spider-Man?
Look, as we said when we were discussing the original Raimi trilogy, was that Raimi was almost going for a romance movie over a Spider-Man movie, and I think this movie does a better job of being both a romance movie and a Spider-Man movie in one. I think it does definitely have its flaws, and there's definitely the criticism of maybe Garfield's Peter Parker is probably a little bit too cool, a little bit too kind of I don't know, hip, if you want, as the kids would say, apparently. But I think his version of Spider-Man, at least, is by and far the better version of Spider-Man of the two we've seen.
Let me ask this: is he cool now? He might have been cool then, but is he cool now?
Probably not now. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I even saw him in a movie, to be perfectly honest.
No, but like that version of Peter Parker, is he cool?
Yes.
Or is it gone back around to being the outsider type? You know?
It's I don't know if he's outside. And this is the thing, right? I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. And I don't... And I think too much of the criticisms of the second movie maybe have flowed onto my perception of the first movie. Well, I really loved this when I first saw this, and I really enjoy it now. I think Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield both have fantastic chemistry on screen. I think Emma Stone does a fantastic job portraying Gwen Stacy. And I think Marc Webb, coming off the success of 500 Days of Summer into this movie, you can kind of see those kind of almost real people in the writing. Like you can believe that Peter and Gwen are actual people, actual characters. They have their awkward moments. They have their normal moments. Yes, Peter has what you could see as the continued creepiness as with having the picture of Gwen on his wallpaper on his computer. But at the same time, it's like it's done in an endearing way and it's a nice way. And I think as a whole, this movie's just a better Spider-Man package. I think My one major deterrent about the Spider-Man section of this movie is I don't love the suit design. I think the suit design is probably lacking compared to the Raimi Spider-Man suit. But as a whole, this movie in general gets Spider-Man right. He is smartass. He is kind of fun-filled. He's a confident superhero. And at the same time, it gets Peter right, even though Peter is a bit too cool. But it still builds Peter to be a real character. It builds Gwen to be a real character. Even does fucking Flash Thompson better than the original did in the first movie. Like, I just think as a whole, this movie's just written a lot better.
Dylan, do you think Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker is too cool?
Nah, I liked it then. I like it now. I think he's not the super popular kid in school, so I'd still think it's like he's not a cool kid. He doesn't have he's not actually a jock. He's not actually the popular one in class or whatever. They've gone for what they went for is instead of doing the old age thing where it's like, oh, super nerdy kid, which is what they were going for with Tobey Maguire, like that sort of outcast or whatever. They've tried to do a more modern outcast of like skater punk dude, like who, like he's not nerdy kid but getting picked on. He's just the outcast, which doesn't make him popular. Like, I don't think it makes him. I think it's just you're looking at it going, he's a skater, so he must be cool or whatever. But like they've just gone for the
I don't know.
outcast.
I think it's just his general aesthetic just comes off as maybe a little bit too cool.
I think he just comes off as not caring. Like he doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't think that like
that's cool, isn't it?
Not, but yeah, I don't think they didn't get rid of the character type of.
No, definitely not. No.
Like it's just they tried to do a different version of it, I think. And I liked it because I remember when this came out, obviously, I was like still skating at the time, so I was like, oh yeah, fucking let's go, bro. Do a kickflip. I think I really liked this when it came out, and I really like it now. I think the highs are the cast. Obviously, the chemistry between the two leads is definitely the best sort of romance chemistry that you've had with any Peter Parker and love interest so far, in my opinion. It's better than Zendaya and old mate.
Would you say it's better than Tobey? Tobey and Kristen?
Yeah. I think this is the best romance, like chemistry wise, between any of the actors. I think the one problem, but I really like the way they do his web stuff in this one and explain all that and how they go about it. And,
you mean they show that Peter Parker's actually smart? They don't just keep yelling it at you and hopefully it makes sense, like the first trilogy?
Yeah. You get seen like test him and like whatever else and come up with it. And I think, what was it? I think it was on Corridor Crew like a couple months back where they did one talk about swinging this and how they talked about
they did it for real.
They designed it so it made more sense the way he like sort of angles across instead of just going in straight lines or whatever the swinging. So like when we got to that scene in this, I was remembering that Corridor Crew video. I think the only problem I have with this is the same problem I have back when it came out, which is it's held back by just sort of, it's not a remake, yet it treads a lot of similar water. And since we just watched the first one, Tobey Maguire first one real recently, the similarities between the two villains, although different characters, but you still have that father figure esque sort of.
It's a father figure hearing voices in his head.
Like
actually,
so they come across quite similar.
The problem isn't actually the script or actually the performance; it's actually the editing. So the scene where it just comes off as him doing that inner voices thing, the original scene was him and Peter Parker talking to each other. And they've just cut his dialogue out of that scene and put it in to make it look like it's a voice in his head rather than having him having more of a direct conversation with Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker about what's going on.
Interesting.
I mean,
it's a choice.
That scene aside, I still think it's a very similar character type where he's pulled into Oscorp, and even though it's not Osborn himself, you've got
it's a mentor figure.
You've got the mentor figure and all that sort of stuff. And I would say the first half of this movie, it is like, it's good, but it just feels so similar. like there's differences, but ultimately feel similar. And that's sort of the downfall of this movie is they do change a lot and they do try to change things here and there and whatever else. But as much as they do try, it still feels like they got pushed by the studio to go like, we'll just try and like do something similar to what people would know and what they would want or whatever. So, yeah, I still think it's a good movie. I definitely enjoyed watching this one more than the original, but I just, even if you didn't like rewatching the original, it's still going to come across like, oh, they're just trying to be a bit too safe here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this film as well. I think Andrew Garfield does a great Spider-Man. You know, he does, you know, there's a lot more funny one-liners and quips. I think this, like, the CGI and, like, him swinging around still looks really good. I like the story progression. I think they do it a bit different. Obviously with Spider-Man going around and, like, trying to find Uncle Ben's killer. You know, and, like, that's his motivation for being Spider-Man to start off with. Until he gets to finally, like, save somebody. And then it's like, everything kind of changes. I think that's a great moment, but then it's, like, the only, like, really spectacular moment from this movie. And I think that's why it's maybe not as... It's like, it brings it down a bit. It's like, yeah, it's really good, but there's nothing, like, really super memorable about it. Like, what did you guys remember of this film before you actually watched it?
The crane scene.
Well, yeah, because that's a great meme. Yeah.
I just remember, I would say if I remembered anything, it would be less Spider-Man scenes and just more Gwen and Peter scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I really enjoy the sequence with Lizard and Spider-Man in the high school. Like, I think that's shot really well and it's done.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, actually, I remember because there's a GIF of the Stan Lee.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos is just how it's choreographed. Yeah, behind him.
Don't jump
ahead. That's a popular moment that I didn't forget.
Yeah. All right, let's go into Building Spider-Verse. Obviously, we've got Peter Parker, played by Andrew Garfield, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. We all know debuted in The Amazing Spider-Man 15. I think it's interesting this iteration. Well, I think this iteration is also so closely tied to his parents as well, which I think is very interesting. It's like that wasn't really explored in the first one. Like, it's like his parents. It was never discussed in the first one, right? You just had Uncle Ben and Aunt May. But this one is like...
It's never touched in the new one either. And as far as any other Spider-Man thing I've ever watched or read, I don't think his parents...
Well, I think it's always a decision to how much they include his parents, because generally if his parents are included, they go the direction that this movie / the sequel take with his parents, which can be very divisive in some people's minds and kind of might even take away a little bit too much from, you know, Peter being kind of your everyday, ordinary superhero in many ways. Like, it kind of takes away the everyman point of view. It doesn't do it in this movie, but it leads into it with the second movie a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, obviously, you know, I like the suit. I think it looks good. You know, we slowly get to it. Yeah. I
think it's interesting when you, because I think I got super interested in it as I did some more looking into this and I watched some stuff and I read some stuff, and when the suit was designed, it was supposed to be designed in a way that made you believe that a teenager could make it, that somebody in high school could make it. Like the eyes are the kind of the lenses from some sunglasses. The soles of the shoes of the feet are actually soles of some shoes. Like, it is supposed to be designed that way. I just don't know. I just think maybe the color palette could be tweaked just a little bit to have maybe include a bit more red, or not to be as fine with the spider symbol is always a thing for me. But I think they definitely do, for my personal taste, improve a lot with the second suit from the upcoming movie.
Yep. Can I also say, why would you go into a room full of spiders?
That's a very weird scene. I was like, what?
Because he's curious.
Why would you keep walking in?
No, because he's curious about his dad's research and stuff, and obviously because he's seen spiders.
You can do it
in
from
his
a distance.
No, but he do it with, like, because he saw the spider in his dad's office previously, so I guess it's just an ongoing kind of curiosity from it all.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up that he pulls that string, obviously that bit of web from his neck at the end. with the spider still attached. Ugh.
I feel like this movie almost needs a warning for people who have like
You have arachnophobia, yeah.
arachnophobia. More so, I know it's got Spider-Man and all, but like,
Absolutely. Of course, we got Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. First appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man 31 December 1965, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. I think I agree with Dylan. Maybe his best love interest so far.
Mm-hmm. I would agree just on based off real life chemistry as well as just the on-screen chemistry of Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield.
well, I mean, Zendaya and Tom Holland are dating.
Yeah, but I don't think we've ever really had the... There is more of an open, interested relationship in this one where for the Tom Holland Zendaya run so far, they've been going for that awkward kind of...
Awkward like each other, yeah.
Awkward like each other but don't want to talk about it, whereas the chemistry between Gwen and Peter in this movie is kind of overflowing and it's super fucking obvious that they like each other and they go forward with that relationship fairly easily and fairly quickly.
Do we? That goes from he's surprised that she remembers his name to, dating pretty quick,
Well, I think they start seeing more of each other, and of course there's got to be, moments in this where they're skipping over time in the movie, where, yes, they're interacting a lot more and they're spending more time together. I think that the scenes that we do get is enough to see the believable things about the believable kind of natures of it. And I think the best thing is that it captures, even though Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone don't exactly look like teenagers, they look more like teenagers than fucking Tobey Maguire ever did. And I think
they do. I think they look like they're supposed to be college students in this or whatever.
They're seniors.
They're seniors. Like, it's their final year of high school, which is, it is later, but no, but I think
17 or 18, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like you're 18.
They're at least written like they're just teenagers. Like, Peter is written like a teenager for the fact of he doesn't have this, like, overall maturity of, like, the age-old fact of, oh, I can't tell my love interest or my girlfriend that I'm a superhero stuff. When dude just kind of comes out with it fairly, normally and fairly quickly in their relationship, which in many ways is kind of a breath of fucking fresh air. And it kind of shows that he hasn't rushed to that kind of thinking. And I really like where that leads the story for these next two movies of, there is some progression to that rather than there just being, I can't do this because anybody that I care about is going to get hurt. And it's like, well, yeah, but at the same time, teenagers make dumb fucking decisions. And even if they think they know the right thing to do or the best thing to do, doesn't mean they're going to do it every time.
I just googled it, by the way. It does say 17 to 18. So if you want to say they're both 18.
When did Easy A come out?
I don't know, like a couple years prior or whatever, yeah.
Everybody believes she was a teenager then, so.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, it's...
Maybe looking back at it just because
if you're saying they're 18, if this was in Australia, 18 is an adult. Like, you're drinking.
Yeah.
In America, 18 is not drinking, but it's like just for comparison. Like I think, it's late teens. It's basically an adult, depending on what country you're in. So, I think they look the part. I think they act the part.
Yeah, I like them. I will say, just remembered, obviously with Andrew Garfield. I don't know. Did you guys ever see that clip of him at Comic-Con?
Yes.
Yes. So, if you don't remember, at the first ever Amazing Spider-Man panel at Comic-Con, in the lead up to Spider-Man, someone dressed up as Spider-Man interrupts the introduction and starts talking about his love of Spider-Man and everything, and it's Andrew Garfield. He storms the question mic, gives a whole speech about how important Spider-Man was to him and everything, and that's a lot more than you felt from Tobey Maguire. You never saw anything
on the
about.
Panel?
No, it was like cast crew. Okay. But no, this is like before the actual everyone's introduced. He comes up in a Spider-Man outfit. That I missed the key point. So no one knew it was Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, well, I think I remember reading there was an interview of him where he was really pissed off after he found out there wasn't going to be a third one of these, and like all that stuff went down and they cancelled all the movies. There was an interview of him where he was basically not giving any fucks, and he was like talking about how he had all these ideas for the character. He was like pushing Sony to actually bring his Spider-Man into the MCU, and like if you ever read it, you can tell he like was obviously passionate for this. Yeah.
I think we'll discuss it next week. What if?
What if?
What if? But yeah, lovely couple. Next up, we've got
lovely couple. They're a lovely couple.
Lovely couple. Why didn't they work out? Rhys Ifans as Dr. Curtis Connors, the Lizard. First appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man number 6, November 1963, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. I very much dislike the design. I think the biggest mistake they made was going for that human face.
Yeah. Should have just gone complete lizard.
Go complete lizard. I think around the same time, not long after, they had one of my favorite lizard artists on Marvel, Chris Bakula. He did like some really good art for the lizard during his run. If it had been something like that, that would have been really cool.
You never go full hog.
You just need. I guess they wanted him to have lips to talk.
I guess like they wanted. I think maybe they just wanted more of the actor's performance to come through when he was a monster, and having that facial recognition and facial capture for it, rather than just be completely alien and completely kind of reptile. But you need to go 100%. You can't go 88% and then try and pull back at the last second with its design.
Yeah, I guess.
I will say the effects when he like grows his hand for the first time and like pulling away the skin and like kind of how it looks is kind of insane. And I think they do a really good job.
Prosthetic. I reckon that wasn't CGI. I'm gonna say it's not.
No, I think it was a prosthetic that went over his actual arm because it's very fat and very I don't know what the word
squishy
is.
looking.
Squishy looking,
Gross.
yeah. And also, one of my favorite shots of this movie is him with the mirror where he's like making it look like he's got his like the second arm and everything. I really like that shot for whatever reason, for the showing the kind of mental well-being for his character.
This is a very ableist movie.
Also, yes.
We need to fix all these people. No. Yeah, I think they could have done a bit more. I mean, there's some cool sequences. Obviously, we talked about like the high school and stuff, and then in the sewers with like the lizards coming to him, being drawn to him. That's freaking freaky stuff. So, but how do we feel about his major plan? He's going to turn everybody into lizards. Dumb, right?
Well, no, he just wants to cure everybody. He just wants to make
by
humanity
turning them into lizards.
But what else is he going to turn him into? He's like, man, I turned into a fucking lizard, and I'm great. Like, I've got this massive... I've got another arm now. Yeah. If I do this will help everybody. Everybody will be safe by this.
You're all welcome. Next up, we have Denis Leary, who plays Captain George Stacy. First appearance, Amazing Spider-Man number 56, January 1968, created by Stan Lee, John Romita Sr., and Don Heck. He obviously... much bigger role than James Cromwell got last Spider-Man Sam Raimi film. He did. Seems like a good dad, and then a solid police chief, even if he doesn't believe Peter when he comes in and tells him that a scientist turned himself into a giant lizard.
But he doesn't believe him. But then at the same time, he goes,
"Check it out."
Fuck! I better look into this. It sounds ridiculous, and I don't want it to be true. But yeah, okay, find out what's going on.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. I think he plays the character well and does a good job at being a sort of antagonist.
I think it's interesting that they, in many ways, almost split the Uncle Ben role a little bit in this movie, where kind of all the words of wisdom and all the kind of the wise speeches kind of came from Ben in the Raimi trilogy, where I think that this one is very much split between Ben and Captain Stacy, and I think it does a really good job and has a good effect on for kind of pushing Peter at the end of this movie and like evolving his character as well as his relationship with Gwen.
Yeah. Okay. And he pulls a shotgun from somewhere. It can reload real quick. He's just putting bullets in that lizard. Crazy. Also love the dinner scene where they're like having that like pretty heated back and forth about vigilantes and that kind of stuff. And then the other scene that I really like is obviously him and Gwen, when Gwen's trying to tell lies as to why she can't come out. Okay.
I just love the scene where he's like,
dad.
just last week you wanted to live in a palace full of chocolate or whatever. No, it's just, yeah, it's very...
So isn't she like, well, I've grown up now or whatever, or something like that?
Well, chocolate is very fattening and it's not realistic.
All right. Next up, we've got Martin Sheen as Ben Parker. Of course, Amazing Spider-Man number 15, 1962, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Might as well key in Elizabeth Sally Field as Aunt May, Amazing Spider-Man 15, August 1962, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. How do we feel about this Uncle Ben and Aunt May?
Well, they couldn't do wrinkles, so they had to hire someone. No, I think they're both good. I think they're obviously the bar was set, and again, they just don't try to do the exact same version, so they've de-aged or gone for slightly younger people, so you don't get direct comparisons. Whereas if they'd hired like more older uncle, then you would have got more of those direct comparisons. But I think they do a good job at both being the warm sort of parent types for Peter, but also being different enough that they stand out, especially her as you go into the second one, I guess. Gets a bit more time.
I think,
I definitely like...
Sorry, go for it. I think Martin Sheen is the best Uncle Ben out of the two for kind of on screen, in my opinion, just because there's something about the voice.
He doesn't say the line.
He doesn't say the line, but I don't think he needed to say the line. He says the line, he just says it in more words than he needs to. But there's something about listening to that voicemail at the end that still kind of hits hard, even on subsequent viewings past the first time. It's still very heartfelt and very loving and caring. And Aunt May, I actually appreciate that things aren't perfect at home. Peter's coming home with visible, like, bruising on his face from his time being Spider-Man. He is going through a phase after losing his Uncle Ben, and he's shutting down from her. And having it where their relationship isn't just kind of perfect and seamless, and she's not completely clueless, where it's like something's going on here, she's trying to get through to her surrogate child, nephew. It's just... I appreciate it a lot more, and it goes a long way of building their relationship a lot more than the Raimi Aunt May.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this might be the better pairing. Yeah. Really sweet and, like, bit of everything, Obviously, Uncle Ben gives him some tough love, I mean, he also sets him up with Gwen, so, playing the wingman, yeah.
I'm his parole officer. He's got a picture of you on his computer.
That's such an old person thing to say. Yeah. So let's move on to Stanley's sighting for this week. Lee is the librarian at Midtown Science High School, comically oblivious to the fight between Spider-Man and the lizard happening behind him. A table nearly hits him as well, due to the fact that he's listening to classical music. He walks out of the library as the fight continues. Pretty great cameo. Memorable.
Way more memorable than any of his cameos in the Raimi ones.
I mean, I think how many movies in is this? Obviously we'd started the MCU, so
this is after Avengers.
Yeah, so they know he can do stuff. So
they know he can act.
He can act. He's good for a laugh and sequence.
Stunt. Dodge a table.
Yeah. And that's been your Stanley sighting for this week. Ciaran, what's the most marvelous moment from his Blazing Spider-Man?
It's gotta be, hey Spider-Man, use my cranes! We got you, Spider-Man! No, I think there is, even though it's meme to hell, there is a real sweet moment of capturing that Spider-Man is actually becoming a hero of New York better than they did in the Raimi trilogy. Even though it's, it's a meme now and it's quite funny that, all these cranes line up.
Every time you see cranes, it's like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, that's got to be, everything has to... even the Spider-Man video game for PS4 had a crane sequence in it. Like, it was just a nice thing to see. It's a better way of showing that New York growing to appreciate Peter Parker and appreciate Spider-Man. And having just, like, the actual... him first going through that kind of encounter with the police, getting freaking shot by one of the police by accident, and how that affects him going forward.
It was not an accident.
The guy has been told to cease fire.
And he shot anyway.
That was not an accident. A statement about other things. We'll not go into that one. But,
it's a typical American police situation.
It's like, I couldn't see any of your skin.
And, I think there's something... there's something real nice about just the that kind of sequence of coming together and showing his own growth as well as the people of New York's growth around Spider-Man.
Yep. Dylan, what's the most marvelous moment of you Amazing Spider-Man?
I was going to pick the cranes. So, backup will have to be just I'm going to go with just the montage of him doing his webs and making them and learning them and all that sort of stuff, because I enjoy that whole sequence. So I think that just shows him like having fun, growing his character, learning, making those things, that he's actually smart and does a way better job of explaining that he's actually got some brains under there than...
My question is, how much did they cost?
Not that much, apparently.
Look,
off Amazon. He's probably got Prime. He got this.
So Oscorp is just giving out these webs. These,
those kind
ropes to random people.
Apparently, yes. Apparently, it was like on the website. It was on the website and everything, and it was like the statistics and the specifications and everything were.
Could have been like an industrial website, I think.
I think so. I think it was supposed to be designed for like either military use or use for construction workers and stuff like that.
Right.
Also,
did use it.
It probably is very weird that nobody from Oscorp ran him that, hey, there's like a Spider-Man swinging around on these webs. The webs look awful lot like the webs we sell. And we said, we delivered like a really big batch of this stuff to this random teenager like about a month ago. No, we're fine. All right, that's fine. You go, guys.
Yeah.
I like to presume he figures out a way to...
That he improves it and gets better. Or he steals it. It fell off the back of a truck.
It's true.
Yeah. For the greater good,
It's only Oscorp. I mean, they can afford to lose some boxes of spider rope.
You know what it is? Eventually, whole reason for his relationship is with Gwen, inside connections. She starts like...
she starts smuggling.
Starts smuggling it out. Doing the dodgy work. Like... going in doing late nights, coming out with whole trash bags full of web for Peter. It's the whole plan.
My most marvelous moment is the bridge sequence where he's like saving all the cars from falling off the edge, and then goes and saves their kid. I think greatly shot. Obviously, you get to look at like Spider-Man being Spider-Man and like saving this kid. Giving him the mask to make him feel brave. And then saves him. As the car falls around him. Pretty great sequence. I will also shout out the sequence. I think that was in the original trailer. It's like he's cornered that first dude. He's like in the back of the car.
I like that whole sequence.
That whole sequence.
I remember watching this movie the first time.
My big weakness, small knives.
That is the moment watching the original where I was like, oh fuck, they got Spider-Man right. Spider-Man's shit talking and it's actually good. Okay, I'm in for this. This is what I want. Rather than Tobey Maguire's delivery on any of the lines he was written ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you guys want to talk about from the film? Do you think it was too on the nose that he fell through a building into a wrestling ring? Surrounded by luchador masks, figures, posters.
I think it was better than the Bonesaw match from the original ones.
Yeah.
Kids got to get the idea from somewhere, you know? You may as well just...
It's true. How do we
fall
feel about
into
him testing out his powers? In like an abandoned shipping yard?
It's cool as shit.
It's the same place where Han teaches how to grip.
It's where all the training gets done. I do like, there is the shot where like he goes down like the unbelievably high like pipe wall, and it's like, oh well shit, okay, this is not believable, but okay, fine, it's Spider-Man, he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Well, my name's Peter Parker and welcome to Jackass.
Alright. And then how do we feel about the ending? Obviously we've got Captain Stacy who dies, you know, Peter stays away, Gwen is like, why are you staying away? She figures out and he made a promise not to see her anymore. And the last line of the film, Parker, don't make promises you can't keep. And Peter whispers to Gwen, those are the best kind.
But with much better delivery than that.
Yeah, of course.
Like no stutter, quite confident, quite charming.
It's a little... I mean, you're going to break the promise that you made to my dying father. I mean, that's kind of fucked up.
No, but it's such a teenager thing to do. Like you actually get given some
What,
good
make
advice.
a promise to a dying man?
No. But it's like, you get some advice and you know it's the right thing to do, but you're a dumb fucking teenager and you're gonna let hormones or what you know, your love interest get over, like, be more important than that. And I think this does a better job when we talk about number 2 next week of dealing with that choice and going with it than fucking Spider-Man 1 into Spider-Man 2 did for the Raimi trilogy, because that choice is kind of forgotten in the second movie. The second movie is really just Peter being like, why isn't she loving me? Why am I not her boyfriend? Why does she not care? It's like, well, I told her to get lost.
I feel like it's people fighting creatively a bit because it just all happens within basically 5 minutes at the end of the movie. It's like, oh no, crying on the doorstep, I can't be with you. And then they're like, actually, no, it's fine, forget all about it. But it's like, it feels like someone wanted to have the movie end on the whole downer note of, I can't be with you, but then someone said,
No, there's been too many downer ones.
Maybe also they were like,
Yeah.
hey, this is the same way Spider-Man 1 ended of the Raimi trilogy. Like, I know we've got some parallels, but like, let's circumvent that a little bit.
All right, let's finish this episode. Ciaran, Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man?
Fucking Amazing Spider-Man all day, every day. Take that 12 rounds and Amazing Spider-Man knocks it out every single one of them. Fucking self-biologically made Webb can go fucking live in a trash can. Web shooters for life! Not audio, but I'm web zipping at the moment. Thwip.
Dylan, Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man?
Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I have to go Amazing Spider-Man as well. Yeah, they just did the origin better. It looks better. Yeah. He's going to be whipping the rest of this episode. Let us know which one's better, Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man, by going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. To find us on Twitter.
He's still flipping.
Or explosionnetwork.com/Discord to join our Discord. If you want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or tell people about All New Marvel Cast. And if you like this episode and thirst for the dollar, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. On the next episode of our Spider-Man Rewatch, we'll be discussing The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Rise of Electro. So make sure you watch that and join us next time for another All New Marvel Cast. Still whipping.